Hello, everybody. This is Joanne Factor with Strategic Living, Safety, and Self Defense Training. And guess what? It's October and the touch of autumn air in the morning. It's damp, it's foggy. We're in the Emerald City, so yeah, that's kind of to be expected. And even after the fog burns off and the sun emerges, we still have that kind of after chill that lingers all day. The leaves are beginning to turn colors, the red, yellow, orange, and some are beginning to drift to the ground. My coral bark maple is looking pretty nice. It's pretty yellow. My ornamental cherry, actually my sour cherry, still is pretty green. I'm sure that's not going to last too much longer. Now, today is October 28th, and that means Halloween is in just 3 days. Halloween, just one evening of ghosts and ghouls, spirits and specters. It'll be here in the wink of an eye. And October is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Now, unlike Halloween, though, domestic violence is not limited to like one evening, or if you count like Halloween as a season, it's not limited to just these 31 days. Domestic violence is like a wraith that stalks its prey all year long. Now, abuse victims can be haunted even after the relationship ends. They are more likely to have to deal with depression and anxiety than are most other people. They are often less able to form long term loving and healthy relationships, and they're more likely to engage in harmful high risk behaviors, according to the Department of Health and Human Services Offices of Women's Health. Okay, now here's a little side note. In prior years, I've cited a page from the Center for Disease Control website for the effects of domestic violence on the rest of somebody's life. But it seems that that specific page on the effects of domestic violence has vanished, and I could not find a comparable one on the CDC website. And frankly, CDC, you did lose some cred with me this year. All those COVID recommendations that were tainted by political ambition. So, how about you get back on track and get back to recommendations based on science? And then we can talk about rebuilding that trust. In the meantime, I think we need to take a break from each other. But, let's get back to. So, remember also, abuse of trust can also be part of the continuum of violence. So, let's get back to our main topic. We're going to take another little tangent, but this is more related. In the 1970s, the phrase "the personal is political" gained traction among feminists as women recognized that individual incidents and abuses were commonplace, even routine, and they were socially okay and systemic. Well, what do those mean, socially okay and systemic? Well, let's say you don't abuse your significant other, you don't approve of abuse, you don't like it. But you know what? You think your buddy does. Your buddy abuses their significant other. You know about it. And you choose to ignore it. It's awkward. You don't bring it up. You don't ask about it. You don't offer help. You don't express concern. But you keep hanging out with your buddy, like always, and so do all the other buddies. And that makes it socially okay. Socially okay more or less means there's no consequences for the behavior. And in the case of domestic violence, that should not be okay. Now, systemic means that the issue isn't really taken seriously as a social problem, but rather as a rare or infrequent individual issue, or even a personal failing. So there are relatively few social resources devoted. That means there's a lack of available assistance for somebody who is being abused. Furthermore, if said abused person decides to speak up, say, like, I don't like getting hit. I don't like it when you yell and call me names. at family gatherings, stuff like that, there's a good chance they are the ones who will end up socially isolated, financially damaged, and relegated to the fringes of society. And that's also not okay. Now, women have put up with abuse for various reasons. We heard that's just the way it was. Boys will be boys, or that's just life as a woman in modern America. So deal with it. Put on your big girl panties and just deal with it. Or perhaps there would be other consequences, such as sexual assault, physical battery, or even homicide. Now, this is the year 2020. We're in the middle, I don't know where we are in a pandemic. Our president seems to think we're rounding a corner. I think we're rounding a corner into a bigger mass of cases. But anyway, so one thing that's concerning besides the increase in cases is there's also been an increase in domestic violence homicides since March. Um, and that is concerning. I have to look into it a bit more, and I might wind up posting another video just on that. So the possibilities of, assault or homicide or battery, stuff like that, they kind of hang out like the elephant in the room, ignored and unnamed, and it's a vile presence that's kind of always like you feel it breathing down the back of your neck, even if it's invisible. So, so if you look on the description for this video, you're going to find some links. You'll find the link to the Department of Health and Human Services site that I mentioned. And there's also going to be a link to a flyer. It's pretty seasonal. It has a pumpkin on it, so it's Halloweeny. And please, describes domestic violence, dating violence. Please give it to anyone you think could use it. And even if you're into planning and making lists, there's also another link for safety planning. Now, send it to friends also. There's one thing that's really frustrating for a lot of people, and I hear this a lot. In fact, when I was a volunteer advocate and staffed the crisis line for a domestic violence agency in King County, one of the common calls we got was from a family member or a friend of somebody who was in an abusive relationship, and they were frustrated and they wanted to know, is there anything I can do? Because family and friends are also, they probably feel like they're like stuck in a combination between Groundhog Day and The Exorcist. They're watching a bad movie on loop and it repeats over and over again. They're powerless to intervene. In fact, send the stuff to almost everyone you know. Please don't spam people, but send it to people you would think would be interested. Male, female, any gender could benefit from this, but do your part to exorcise this demon now, and do it for the whole year. So this has been Joanne Factor with Strategic Living Safety and Self-Defense Training, coming to you from the glorious Emerald City, and check up our classes and offerings, including the online stuff. So stay safe, live life.